Woke hospitals and clinics invade Seattle. Welcome to the Jason Rantz Show, brought to you by the Novak team, powered by Keller Williams. Visit them online at meetthenovaks.com. The Seattle Polyclinic wants its patients to be woke, progressive, activist parents. The clinic proudly displays flyers describing ways to be an anti-racist parent, though they're not proud enough, of course, to answer basic questions on why the flyers are posted in the first place. The flyer implies that being an inclusive parent is not good enough, that patients have to step up and take specific Polyclinic-approved steps to teach their kids to be progressive, race-obsessed activists. It's the latest push that we've seen from woke Seattle hospitals leaning into politics and activism. In turn, they're just pushing away the patients they claim to care about. So I'm a patient at the Polyclinic, and this flyer on the screen caught my attention at a recent visit. The flyers list characteristics of inclusive parents on one side and anti-racist parents on the other. You might think you're doing a good job at being inclusive, but the woke scolds at the Polyclinic believe you can do more. The flyer says that an inclusive parent will teach kids that people matter more than skin color. Yet inexplicably, the flyer then argues to focus exclusively on race. It tells parents to teach their kids that skin color deeply affects how people view us. Well, thanks to the identity politics of the left, this has become undoubtedly true. It demands that you view all white people as privileged and all black people as needing a white savior. It's demeaning and it's racist. Inclusive parents, the flyer continues, will, quote, talk about privilege and what it means. But an anti-racist parent will, quote, give children contextual examples of the privilege, like being able to shop without being followed. I hope the Polyclinic treats black patients better than how they imply the retail and pharmacy in their medical center will treat them. It's not good enough to, quote, share movies and shows featuring people of color with their kids. That's the inclusive way. Much better, they should, quote, use media to point out examples of racism and stereotypes. Sounds like a fun movie night, doesn't it? Hey kids, go get American History X and get out, it's movie night. Your kids are 8 years old, put on Frozen for the 112th time. The Polyclinic flyer doesn't say at what age parents should start indoctrinating their children. Now, presumably, they should start as young as possible so that when their kids see their doctor at the Polyclinic, they might be ready to answer any surprise questions their woke doctor could ask. So let's get your weight, your height, and see if mommy and daddy talked about systemic racism through the lens of that movie about a black trans female protagonist. Definitely not a Pixar film. The term anti-racist doesn't mean you are against racism. It actually means you have to take on a set of specific left-wing actions to fight perceived racism. But on the left, everything is racist. To be an anti-racist, you have to adopt a fringe worldview that sees nothing but race. Ironically, the actions and ideas anti-racist activists would like people to hold, they are, in fact, racist. The term has become mainstream thanks to the poisonous work of Ibram X. Kendi. His popularity grew, along with his bank account, in the aftermath of last summer's Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots and rallies. Kendi's book is called How to Be an Anti-Racist, and it earned the support of emotionally and intellectually vulnerable, guilt-ridden white progressives looking to atone for sins they didn't really have anything to do with. So they bought his book in droves only to find out that Kendi believes capitalism is racist. It must have been confusing for the white progressives who bought this book on Amazon to sort of mentally make sense of. But they read the toxic book anyway, and they learned that being an anti-racist requires you to be a racist. This is an actual quote from the book. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. So back to the Polyclinic in Seattle. Does the Polyclinic actually support this? They're using the language that Kendi popularized. 4 requests for comment on where that flyer came from went completely unanswered as of this recording. So here's a question. Is this the kind of thinking that belongs in your hospital, your clinic, your doctor's office? Because Polyclinic is not the only woke hospital or clinic in Seattle. Virginia Mason hangs a Black Lives Matter banner from their property. You can see it right now on the screen. At a patient intake station the other day, an employee displayed a BLM poster as well. And by the way, would they be able to display an America First or a MAGA flyer? Probably not. These political statements might please the woke staff at the hospitals and clinics. It might even lead to some patient excitement, right? Antifa radicals and BLM protesters, they need doctors too, perhaps a therapist. But what about everybody else? Can we go to a doctor's office without being hit on the head with political statements from either side of an issue? I don't need to know what political or social positions my hospital or doctor stands for. I only need to know you're going to provide me good care. And lost in all of this virtue signaling and wokeness on display is that when a hospital gets too political, patients are going to judge you. And they're going to start to lose trust. That has real-world consequences. We hear over and over and over again public health officials decrying how political vaccines and masks have become. But a quick stop by their offices, and we get bombarded with political message after political message after political message. So who exactly is bringing politics into healthcare?